So we're going to begin with MLS and the big news that came out of the league today. So the news that came out of Major League Soccer today is that there's going to be a new schedule in 2027. There were reports that this was going to possibly happen, but it was officially voted on today, officially verified and ratified, I believe, today. And it is now a thing. It's been announced by the league. It's been announced by all the different teams on social media. And if you want to just look at it, it's a big change. But I like it for various reasons, which I'll get into in a second. But the other piece of it is that there's also going to be a single table with all the different teams. There's going to be some divisions, I believe, within that, which is, sort of Americanizing how the Premier League sort of and a lot of those European leagues do things. But it's a lot closer to what European teams do with their football teams, which I think is a very good thing. And for league in the United States, obviously, that is trying to grow, trying to become a bigger thing, I think that the change of having your schedule now align with many of those top European leagues is a very, very positive thing. That said, I do have some questions with it. I do have some things where I'm like, this is a little bit iffy, a little bit like I don't know how to feel about this, and let's just talk about it. So the change is in 2027 for the 2027 and 2028 season. MLS is going to switch to a schedule that begins in July, ends in May. Now, the caveat of this is that there's about a 2-month break from the middle of December to the beginning of February. This means they're not going to play games during the peak time of college football. They're not going to be playing games during the peak time of the NFL playoffs. And the biggest reason why they did this, it's not about either of those things. It's about the weather. There are all but 2 stadiums in MLS that are open air. All but 2 of them are fully open air. Those 2 are both retractable roofs, and only one of them is in a place that matters for weather, and that's Vancouver, British Columbia. So you look at it like this, right? MLS and the weather in the United States during the December and January months, especially in the Northeast and in the northern parts of the central part of the country as well, have a lot of snow, are very cold. It's difficult weather to play in. You think about Toronto, you think about New England, you think about both the New York City teams. You think about Minnesota is another one of those teams, Columbus, Cincinnati, all of those different things. Those are all places where it snows quite a bit during those winter months, and it's difficult to play. So first and foremost, that is why that winter break is there. Why the switch happened is because you want to align yourself, like I mentioned, with those European leagues. It allows you to have your transfer windows be synced with those leagues. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different because you are starting slightly earlier than like the Premier League does, but you are ending at a similar time in terms of when you include the playoffs. Okay? So, like I said, just to recap, July to the middle to end of May is when MLS Cup will be, with a winter break, almost like you're in school in the middle. Now, my problem with what has been happening in MLS is that you look at the postseason right now, right? Look at the MLS Cup playoffs that are happening currently. And you look at it, and it's like, this week there are no games. There have been 3 game rounds in the 2-3 weeks prior. And you come back, you get the conference semifinals, the conference finals, MLS in 3 straight weeks. Having an international break in the middle of what you play your entire season to get to is funky. It's weird. So with this, you are avoiding having that international break be in the middle of your playoffs. You're now also avoiding having the World Cup be in the middle of your season like you're going to see coming forward. But for me, the thing is, you look at what the schedule is now, right? And you have a team that just got eliminated, like the Seattle Sounders, for example. That's my club that I support. They just got eliminated last week. They're now off for the rest of November. They're off for December. And you probably start training again as a team, if not in December, in January. You have games start back up in the middle to end of February. Is not a very long period where you are off. And now, MLS has made it so there's even less of a break in between seasons. Now, obviously, you have the winter break, which helps. But now it's, if you go all the way to MLS Cup, you now have June off and a very small portion of July before games start at the end of July and the beginning of August. That's tough for me to imagine, because you think about it as if you were a player, right? You play this entire season. You play a 9-month season with a slight breakdown in the middle of it. But it's like a 9-month season, and then you get a month off where you're going to have to train and stay fit that entire time anyway. I think that that's really difficult for players to deal with. Now, obviously, these players know what they're signing up for when they're signing up to play and all of that type of stuff. When you're signing a contract, you know that that's what the deal is. But you look at a lot of these other leagues around the world in different sports. I think about football. Football's a really long off period. You have most of the spring, a good chunk of the summer, and then training camp starts in late July, early August, I believe. I think it's like July, middle of July maybe. You think about baseball, you get the entire winter off. Basketball, hockey, you get the summer off. Right? It's more than a month and a half that you have off from playing. It allows you to rest and recover your body. And the thing for me when I look at MLS is not only are you playing MLS games during this whole period, there's also Leagues Cup. There's also CONCACAF Champions League. There's also US Open Cup. There are so many different competitions that these teams have to play in. And I think that this schedule helps with a little bit of that balance, because you do have the break in the middle of the season, and that does help you rest and recover, be ready for what should be a really entertaining second half of the season. It's like a really long, extended all-star break, if you think about it in baseball terms. But it's tough. It's tough for you to be playing all of those games. It's hard on the body. And to me, I think about it, and it's like you're playing all these games, and say you go far in a couple, even just one of those competitions outside of MLS. And if you're going far in one of those competitions, you're probably doing pretty well in MLS as well. And your guys are getting beaten down, playing game after game after game after game. And if you don't have a super deep squad, it's game after game. It's 2 games a week for multiple months in a row. It's really difficult to stay healthy for that whole period of time, and you have to be peak fitness, obviously, because you are a professional athlete. But I do not envy MLS players for the amount of games that they have to play in a singular season. It's a lot of games. I do not envy that. And I think that's really rough. And I think that this schedule might help balance it out a little bit, especially with the winter break. I think the winter break in that way is a really good thing. But it's funky. And it'll be interesting to see now how much does the first and the second half of the seasons matter, and what does the playoff breakdown look at with your sort of divisions type of thing. And now you have this whole singular table. So what it's not just, the schedule. It's how many teams are getting in the playoffs, right? Is it half the table? How many teams are then getting into the postseason in May and playing in those games? And how much does each half of the season matter? And honestly, I think maybe a little bit less teams is a positive thing, right? Because then it means that entire season then matters. Each game matters. Because right now in MLS, it's like you can suck for half the season. You come back in the second half of the season, and it's like, okay, we go on this really nice run, and then you're in the playoffs, right? And the supporter shield doesn't mean this whole big thing, but I think now it means a thing. That means you're the best team in MLS as a whole. And you've been playing all these different teams. And I hope scheduling-wise they have it where you play every team twice. We play every team in MLS twice. I don't know if that's how it's going to work. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that with the amount of teams that there are in MLS. Considering like there are a good number of teams. There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. There are 30 teams in MLS. That is a lot of teams. Actually, it might be more than that. Is it 33 teams? No, I think it's 30 teams. 30 teams. That's a lot. A lot of teams. If you play both those teams twice, that's 60 games. So is it you're playing 35 games maybe, and you're playing the entire league once, and then your in division teams, you're playing them twice. How does that going to work? How's the schedule going to work? There are questions to be answered before the start of 2027. But I think this is a step in the right direction, and I like this concept from MLS, and I've seen some people not liking it because you're playing at the same time as these other American sports, and that's going to cause problems and stuff. And you're going to be playing in colder weather, and people aren't going to want to go to games as much, and I understand that. But soccer or football, as the countries where this sport is bigger than it is here, call it, play with a similar schedule to this. And I think having your schedules aligned is a better thing for transfer stuff. It's a better thing for the look of your game. I think it's a better thing for the league. It's a better thing for the players. I think it's better in all of these different ways. And I think it's a great step in the right direction for MLS. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. It'll be interesting to see all of these different things. But I like this step from MLS. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I think it's a sign of MLS knowing they need to adapt and evolve with the times a little bit and become a league that is respected not just in the United States, but around the world. And I think this helps with both of those things. I think it's good for the game. On the Seattle Sounders, like I said, that's my team. The interesting thing I have with this is how does this affect the Sounders and playing at Lumen Field with the Seahawks and sharing that stadium? Because now Lumen Field all of a sudden has this really dull period during the summer, and the Seahawks and the Sounders are going to be playing games at the same time or at the same stadium during the same months. And obviously the winter break helps with that, but I wonder, we got reports that the Sounders were looking at a new investor to get a new stadium built, and I wonder if this might be part of why. Because then you don't have to deal with sharing the stadium with the Seattle Seahawks during a good chunk of the season, during the first half of the season, really. So I wonder if that's a thing for the Sounders, where it's like, yeah, we want the soccer-only stadium, but also we want to not have to deal with scheduling with the Seahawks and all the football lines on the field during a good chunk of the season and all that type of stuff. I don't know if that's a thing. That's just me speculating, but I do wonder about that. And then last piece on MLS is that they are going to remove MLS Season Pass from Apple TV and just have games be on pure Apple TV, which, again, good move. Like, why have an extra paywall behind your league, making it more difficult for you to grow as a sport? Now it's easier to grow, and it's a good move. A lot of people have Apple TV already, so now it's easier to watch those games. So good move. Cheers to them. Well done.